Just imagine, the year is 1911, and your name is Hiram Bingham. You are one of the most well-known archaeologists and explorers, hailing from Yale University in Northern America. Someone who was in fact modeled off Dr. Bingham was the famous movie character Indiana Jones. You are hiking through the dense jungle of Peru with your team of crack archaeologists, when out of the blue you come across a wondrous, although highly crumbled, city in the mountains. You take photography with the one large camera you brought with your team, and then proceed to set up camp along the border of the city. In the morning, you begin your inspection of the city. You and your team find many incredible artifacts that include Incan pots and other ceramic vessels, ancient weapons used by the mighty Incans during their prime, statues of all sorts, ranging from depictions of priests to day-to-day laborers, and the most shocking discovery, a family that was still living in the ways of the ancient Incans. Bingham used very primitive techniques to excavate the site of Machu Picchu. These techniques consisted mainly of smashing up large parts of the ancient city to gain entrance to blocked doorways or somewhat covered passageways. He did not have access to any heavy machinery that far up in the mountains, so instead had to recruit manpower in the form of villagers from the nearby Peruvian capital, Cusco. In doing this, he managed to destroy a lot of the buildings within the city, and this caused much concern to the Peruvian government, who also had some of its own archaeologists on the site. The Peruvian government, after much consideration, decided to partially restore the city to try to make it seem like it had not been totally damaged beyond repair by Bingham. This action towards the site has been the target of much speculation about whether or not it was the correct course of action to take. Some people, mainly the Archaeological Society, believe that it was the incorrect course of action because they believe it should have been left as it was after Bingham had excavated it. The other side of the argument is being taken by the Peruvian government. Machu Picchu is one of the highest grossing tourist attractions in the world, and the government is saying that while Machu Picchu is an incredible sight, no one would want to look at a bunch of crumbled rocks. So they refreshed the city and tried to recreate the image of how it would have looked before it was neglected for centuries. Hiram Bingham was leading an expedition from Yale University, and therefore, when he discovered many, many beautiful artifacts, most of all of them were shipped back to the university. The Peruvian government, not really concerned at the time with the discovery, has in the past few decades began wanting them to be returned to their rightful place among the ruins of Machu Picchu to turn it into a museum of sorts. This dispute between Yale and Peru over the ownership of the artifacts is not a new kind of issue. There have been many cases of this in the past. A good example of this is the friezes that lined the top of the Parthenon in Athens. When they were discovered lying in the dirt around its base, they were taken back to England, and the Greek government now demands they be returned to their place of origin. The main artifacts that the Peruvian government is concerned with are certain statuettes and other relics made from gold and inlaid with gems such as sapphire and emeralds. Also, a number of human remains that were recovered from the city have been held at Yale since Bingham's return to the site in 1912. And this has been the foremost argument that the Peruvian government has used, that these people should have a proper burial in their homeland. The reconstruction of the city has made it very difficult for historians to recreate the past accurately in this situation. Because of the way the Peruvian government put the city back together, archaeologists have had a hard time piecing the day-to-day activities of the city's inhabitants together. The most they can deduce is that the different tiers of the city would have been used for. Machu Picchu, being one of the most incredible sights known to man, will always have certain problems associated with how it is excavated and who rightfully owns each of the relics, and also whether or not it was Hiram Bingham's right to claim the discovery as his own when the ancient Incans had known about it for centuries. These issues, although highly relevant, may take many more years to be resolved, and for now, the fate of Machu Picchu is ancient history.